My name is Bo McCune. I'm giving an informative speech about traumatic brain injuries in sports. This is my audience.
Morgan,
Phyllis,
Nancy,
Aaron, Susie,
and Molly.
When you think of sports, you think of teamwork, discipline, and a sense of responsibility. But what happens after the lights go out and the glory days are over? Full contact sports can lead to brain trauma, but can be hard to diagnose since no two injuries are the same. Not only are there short-term consequences that an athlete can sustain, but the long-term trauma is often worse. Being aware of the dangers that blows to the head can bring can help us understand behaviors that occur later on in adult life. A traumatic brain injury occurs when a person sustains a hit or a blow to the head. Mayo Clinic says that a TBI can be mild, where the brain cells are damaged, to more severe, with bruising or bleeding that can result in long-term damage. Football has been the #1 school sport played for many years. While there have been some measures taken to ensure the safety of players, TBIs can happen and the damage isn't always easy to diagnose. Those who are affected by a TBI may later in life develop CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. This is a disease that destroys the brain. The symptoms can be depression, memory loss, mood disorders, and impaired judgment. CTE is not able to be diagnosed until after death, so it is important to know the signs that occur after someone has continuously played contact sports or received head trauma. Since sports are such an important pastime for many people, change is hard to implement, although new measures of safety are being implemented in. While there are no known treatments that help fix TBIs, there is some research going on with a new drug that helps enhance memory. TBIs are very hard to diagnose, and many people can be living with this disability, and it may go undiagnosed for many years. With this being said, researchers are trying hard to find ways to help with recovery. Imperial College in London has done research into preventative measures for athletes, such as new helmet designs and drugs that help aid with cognitive damage. Researchers are coming up with new ways to identify brain injuries. There's a new drug that has been tested on mice. Those who had suffered a concussion within a month showed results similar to had never been concussed. Ritalin, a medication used to treat ADHD, is being tested on those who suffered a TBI in order to help with cognitivity. Brain scans before and after the use of medication help researchers to understand the effects that it has had on the brain. Treatment varies from person to person, so it is important to have an understanding on what researchers are looking for. Since a TBI can occur in many different ways, treatment relies on the injury and the age of the individual. Older teenagers and being male gives a person a higher chance of receiving a head injury. Contact sports also have a larger population of those who encounter these injuries. With contact sports being a popular pastime and males having a higher chance of injury, it is important to be aware of the signs and symptoms of a TBI. According to cnsnews.com, since football has remained the #1 sport played in schools in the 21st century, preventative measures need to be put in place. Contact sports are common in schools, and being aware of the signs of injury are important. Head trauma may be thought of as something that occurs for a while, but once symptoms go away, it is forgotten. That is incorrect, and being aware of the dangers that are associated with long-term trauma. Trauma that is suffered in childhood can lead to depression and anxiety later on in adult life. A study done in Australia revealed that those who suffered head trauma in childhood were 5 times more likely to develop anxiety or depression later on in life. Going back to what I was talking about earlier, CTE is very damaging and hard to diagnose until it is too late. A study done in Florida looked at the brains of those who played contact sports against those who did not play sports. The study found that 33% of those who played contact sports had developed CTE, but none of the brains of people who hadn't played sports showed any signs of having CTE. Since CTE is hard to diagnose, it is easy to not think twice when a person starts to behave differently. If a person is unaware of what can happen after a brain injury, the person affected may not be able to receive the help that they need. Depression and anxiety are very common, and suicide has become a staggering result. One family lost their son at age 32 to suicide. He began playing football at age 10 and was diagnosed with CTE after his death. Traumatic brain injuries can be hard to diagnose, but can have damaging effects on a person's long-term well-being. Understanding the signs and symptoms to help a person suffering from a TBI to get the help they need in order to try to recover. Many may not realize erratic behavior as a sign and may just think their loved one is changing and growing more distant. By knowing the signs, you can help your loved one who may be suffering from anxiety or depression. Thank you.